Have you ever watched your human scream at a tax form like it just insulted their mother? Same. Every April mine goes into this weird spiral with coffee receipts and random yelling at a printer that never works. It's a whole performance. And every year she says the same thing. Ugh, I wish there were no taxes. So let's imagine that for a second. A world with zero taxes. No property tax, no income tax, no sales tax, nothing. Just pure tax-free bliss. Sounds amazing, right? Like a window seat, a sunbeam, and fresh tuna all day every day. But hold on. Because if there's one thing I've learned from years of sitting on newspapers and overhearing economics podcasts, it's this: nothing in life is truly free. Not even freedom from taxes. So what would actually happen in a world without taxes? First off, how does the government make money? Spoiler alert. It doesn't sell merch. There's no United States Summer Tour t-shirt stand. The government gets its revenue from taxes. That money pays for everything from roads to schools to firefighters to making sure your grandma still gets her Social Security check. In 2022, for example, the U.S. federal government collected over $4.9 trillion in taxes. Roughly half of that came from individual income taxes, around 30% from payroll taxes like Social Security and Medicare, and the rest from corporate income taxes, excise taxes, and other sources. That giant pile of money is what keeps the wheels of the country turning. Now imagine that disappears. Boom, gone. No taxes, no revenue. The government wakes up broke, like can't pay the light bill broke. Now let's play this out. You wake up in your cozy little home. You stretch, yawn, demand breakfast, but oh no, the streetlights are off. The garbage hasn't been picked up in weeks. The roads outside are full of potholes big enough to trap a Prius. And your human's like, why hasn't anyone fixed this? Well, because no one's paying anyone to do it. Without taxes, we lose public services. No firefighters when the toaster catches fire because someone was trying to make avocado toast with a metal fork. No police, no public schools, libraries gone, national parks privatized. Want to visit Yosemite? That'll be $79.95 and an annual membership. Even worse, no taxes mean no funding for stuff you do not see but totally need. Clean water systems, sewage treatment, disease control, air traffic control, food safety inspectors, agencies like the CDC, FDA, FAA, all funded by taxes. That's right, without taxes, your cat food might come with a free side of salmonella, and not the good kind, the scratchy hospital kind. Now, some people say, well, private companies will step in. Okay, but let's think about what that really means. Your fire department now has a subscription plan. Your house is on fire, and they're like, sorry, you're on the basic tier. We only put out kitchen fires. Living room blazes are premium plus. Healthcare, even more expensive, because now there's no public funding for Medicare or Medicaid. Your grandma better hope she's got a solid GoFundMe page. And education, only those who can afford private school get to learn. The rest, good luck out there. Better hope your kid is born knowing algebra. Even your daily walk in the park becomes a pay-to-enter situation. Imagine your human swiping a credit card at every tree. That'll be $3.99 to pet this squirrel. But wait, what about defense? The military is one of the biggest items in the federal budget. Without taxes, who pays for tank soldiers or even those expensive Pentagon coffee machines? In 2022, the U.S. spent over $800 billion on national defense. Where would that come from without taxes? Maybe a billionaire adopts the army. Hi, welcome to the Elon Musk Department of Defense. We only fight on Mars now. Okay, what if instead of taxes, the government made money another way? Like just printing more? Well, we've already covered that one in another video. Spoiler, it leads to inflation, and not the fun balloon kind. The terrifying, why is a loaf of bread $25 kind? Too much money chasing too few goods. Prices go up. That's basic supply and demand. Also known as the reason your rent is the size of a small yacht payment. Or maybe the government sells stuff, assets, like land, or national parks, or NASA. But how long can you do that before you run out? That's like me selling all my cat toys for treats. Cool for a day. Then I'm bored and snackless. Now let's talk about inequality. In a world without taxes, the rich keep all their money. All of it. That sounds great if you're rich, but not so much if you're, well, basically everyone else. Because the truth is, taxes help redistribute wealth. They pay for programs that benefit the public, especially those who can't afford private alternatives. Without taxes, the gap between rich and poor turns into a chasm, like Grand Canyon levels. And if you've ever seen a kitten try to jump across the couch and fall, yeah, it's like that. But for society, also corporations now pay zero tax, which means even more profits, which means even more power concentrated in fewer hands, and no one's keeping them in check. Remember that one time your human tried to make you eat off-brand kibble? Imagine that, but for every public service. Sorry, we replaced the FDA with Dave from accounting. Now here's the plot twist. Some governments have tried versions of this. Countries with no income tax, like the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, fund services through oil revenues. But unless your country is sitting on massive natural resources, you can't replicate that. You can't pay for highways with vibes. But what about flat taxes, or consumption taxes instead of income taxes? Sure, you could shift the system. Some argue we tax the wrong things or that we could simplify the code. I agree. As a cat who once shredded my human's tax paperwork in protest, the system is confusing. Reform, absolutely. But no taxes at all. That's a whole different ball of yarn. Also, let's not forget debt. Without taxes, governments can't pay back what they owe. Credit rating drops. Borrowing becomes more expensive. Services get worse. It's like maxing out your credit card and tossing the bill in the litter box. Doesn't make it disappear, just makes it smell worse. And if you think this is just theory, consider this: Detroit back in 2013 filed for the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history. One of the key issues, a shrinking tax base. Less revenue meant services fell apart. Streetlights went dark. Emergency response times were painfully long. If a city can collapse without enough taxes, imagine an entire country. What about innovation, you ask? Well, taxes help fund research and development too. Yep, that smartphone you use. Its core tech, GPS, internet, touchscreen, all got a helping hand from government-funded research. Without taxes, there's no National Science Foundation, no grants, no basic science, and no fancy laser pointer for me to chase. And don't forget local stuff, like animal shelters, public transit, mental health clinics, even the little park where I nap under the bench while your human scrolls TikTok. All of it tax-funded. Also, most of the U.S. budget is mandatory spending. Things like Social Security, Medicare, interest on debt. Without tax income, those obligations still exist, but with no way to pay them. It's like owning 10 cats running out of food and saying, guess we're all fasting. But let me add one more thing. There's something sneaky about taxes we often overlook. They are how a society expresses its values. Want better public schools? Fund them. Care about veterans? Support healthcare and housing programs. Believe in science. Tax dollars help launch rockets and cure diseases. It's not just about numbers. It's about what we collectively care enough to pay for. And taxes help us plan. Think about it. Your human saves money every month for rent, groceries, vet bills. Ugh, and that random Amazon haul at 3 a.m. The government does the same. It budgets, it forecasts, it prioritizes. Without taxes, it's like trying to run a household without knowing when your next paycheck comes or if it ever will. Plus, imagine elections without taxes. Who would run the election booths? Who prints the ballots? Who counts them fairly? Voting might become a VIP event, pay-to-play democracy. And that's no longer democracy. That's just a country-sized influencer contest. You'd also start seeing strange partnerships. Imagine a toll booth run by Taco Bell. Want to cross this bridge? Better get a crunch wrap. Or public schools sponsored by Netflix. Math class is canceled until season 4 drops. And let's not forget emergency situations like hurricanes, pandemics, economic crashes. Who coordinates the response? Who pays for disaster relief? Taxes give the government tools to act fast. Without them, it's like sending me into a yarn factory with no pause, chaotic and pointless. Also, quick economics. Sidebar taxes are a tool to manage the economy. They can stimulate growth or cool down inflation. They can incentivize behavior like tax breaks for clean energy or discourage it like cigarette taxes. Remove that tool, and the government's left managing a complex machine with nothing but duct tape and hope. And finally, community. Taxes are not just about money. They're about shared responsibility. They say, we're in this together. That kid getting a free lunch, that's all of us. That bridge you drove over safely, that's all of us too. Taxes are the glue that binds a society that actually works. So yeah, a tax-free world might sound like heaven at first, but it quickly turns into something else. Something less cozy, less fair, and way more chaotic. And from where I'm curled up on this windowsill tail twitching at the thought of society collapsing into privatized anarchy, I think I'll stick with taxes, especially if they keep paying for the internet, because that's where my squirrel videos live. And now, truly the end, or until the IRS knocks.